Let's go to your phone calls. Then we're going to give you Stefan Molyneux's take on House of Cards that I have not yet watched, but everyone keeps telling me about. So most propaganda is in movies and TV, not in the news, and I'm kind of blind because I only focus on news. I should focus more on the propaganda in films, but that discussion coming up in the next segment after calls. Fred in Wisconsin, you're a trooper for holding. You're on the air worldwide. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Wanted to ask you and your guest, you have an uncanny ability to predict the future based on the events going on right now. And I see all these young people, California, signing up for these medical marijuana cards, and I see it spreading across the United States. And I believe that if legalization happens, if it really does come across, that this is going to lead to gun confiscation later, and that all these databases are being built because it's still against the federal law to have a gun and be under the influence of marijuana, regardless of what the states say. And I think it's going to be a big problem, and I didn't get my first gun until I was 25. So I think it's just going to lead to a future gun confiscation problem, especially if they lose all the money.
Sure. And I want to be clear about this whole gun issue. The guns are important, but the reason we obsess on it is when they come to try to take them, it's because they're going to take the First Amendment, the Fourth, the 10th, everything else, which just symbolize rights that were already inalienable and already existed. And the point is that they go, oh, we're friends, just let us register them, and then they always confiscate them. And so, yes, undoubtedly the plan is to take our guns. But as Stefan said, so they have the monopoly. What's a bank robber do when he comes in? He says, hands up, and he takes the gun away from the security guard. Yep. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're securing what they've hijacked, what they've usurped. And I, at an instinctive level, do not want to be usurped. Stefan?
You know that the system is about to crash when they try to grab the guns. That is always what happens. Because when the system crashes, the dependent classes get kind of angry. Where's the welfare check? Where's the social security check? Where my money's being inflated right out of my bank account. I can't buy food. I mean, this is what happened in Ukraine. Ukraine, the average GDP per person is like $3,500 or $4,000 compared to Poland, which is $30,000 or $40,000 because they got such a corrupt regime. The Arab Spring was because the price of wheat went up 3 times. They couldn't afford to eat. So when you've got a dependent class, which has been fostered for the last 30 or 40 years, when you're about to run out of money, you've got to grab those guns. Otherwise, you could be facing some significant...
And I want to explain something. It is massive centralization that allows runs on banks, that allows starvation, that allows deflation, inflation. If you have a truly diverse, free, multi-crop economy, you have some problems, but you just get richer and richer. History shows. The problem is ever getting to that point where you get government and regulators out of your hair and have a virtuous society. Then it's like a perpetual motion machine. But again, then you become decadent. It's the same cycle. Anything else, caller?
I would just keep my name off that list as long as possible to see what they actually do. But,
well, yeah, I mean, folks, you can get guns anywhere in the U.S. without getting them through a registration system. In most areas, it's legal to buy from a private seller. Me, I'm so prominent anyways. I go buy guns with a background check. Why do I care? I don't think I even have hardly any guns that I bought from friends or family. And they can say anything's illegal, too, nitpicking it. You know, it's the cops show up and say, you know, you have a gun illegally. No, I don't. I don't have your view that my gun's illegal because my grandpa gave it to me 30 years ago. You know, they can frame anything the way they want it to.
Yeah, and I would strongly suggest that it's a great barometer of an economic catastrophe when the escalation of gun grabbing goes on. That's the time where you got to start thinking about whatever savings you got, whatever finances you've got.
That's right. They're going to take everything else when they go for the guns. Robert in Mass, you're on the air. It's the canary in the coal mine. Go ahead, Robert.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. Go ahead.
I just want to say you're doing a great job. You're a true American patriot, and the spirit of 76 lives on.
Thank you, brother. What's your question or comment?
Well, my question is about the IRS. It's not a question, it's just a point. I'm from Massachusetts, so we're under a form of Obamacare here already. And just to back up what you stated, that they are going to go after your bank accounts, they are going to go after your tax returns, that's already happening here in Massachusetts. If you don't cover yourself for the year when you go to file your taxes, they take it out of your tax return. My other point is I'm a kind of hands-on guy. I like to get in people's faces. I call senators. I call congressmen on gun control. I call CNN. I call MSNBC just to let these people know that there are people out there who do care about the Constitution and the country.
Oh, there are a lot of people that care. But, you know, the bill, and now the IRS announced last week they're going to take the money out of your bank account. And they go, but Obama promised they wouldn't. Well, why do they have it in there to take $5,000 out then if they're not going to do it?
But a politician promised is such a non-argument. I can't believe people...
Caller, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say what an excellent guest you have on, and I'd like his take on what he thinks it's going to take for the American people to finally have enough.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. And when you go over and watch the podcast with Stefan Molyneux on his site, that's supporting the free market of ideas. When you pass on his podcast, when you pass on our podcast, when you tell friends and family about the different radio shows and books, all of that is little individual actions. We're not in some vacuum. We're just the kleptocrats and people that think in gang mentality who aren't creative and gang up to rob us that are creative. We're better than them when we take the field. Our ideas win. I've experienced it. And there are a lot more articulate, better folks than me out there who just don't have confidence in themselves. I've been on air 19 years from nowhere, folks. With free association, we reach 3 million people. That's a conservative number every day. And we're growing. And freedom is popular. And we can legalize freedom, as Ron Paul says. We can have a debate about what freedom is. Total anarchic capitalism like Stefan Molyneux, or me just saying, hey, I want my republic back. It's better than being run by foreign banks. Just don't blame the republic as they do for what our society's turned into. Now, I'm going to go back to calls, but if you want to comment on voting with our dollars, I'd like to get that. And then I've never heard such a buzz as about House of Cards and people on the street going, it's what you say about them. I don't know how it's on Netflix, but that shows the model of a Netflix platform, 5 years old, dominating everything, 100 million viewers a week, that show alone. I keep telling people, don't try to go to Hollywood to be successful. Go make your own film with passion.
Yep.
And it'll pay for itself, and the next film will make money. But so many people just want to go make it and be rich with no passion, and then they'll be a bling-bling hip-hop star or they'll be a movie star, not getting that the journey is the destination. So House of Cards with a 9.0 rating on IMDb, almost unheard of. What is your take on this phenomenon?
Well, it's free market art. It's art without a license because it's coming through Netflix. It's coming. There's no FCC. There's nothing like that. And I had a guy on talking about a good documentary called Divorce Corps about family courts and just how unbelievably what predation they have, particularly on the American male in the divorce situation. And he was pointing out, like, no TV studio can accurately portray judicial corruption because networks are getting sued all the time. And the last thing they want to do is piss off judges because they're going to sit in front of some judge who's going to remember them and judge against them, right? So this is Netflix streaming directly through the internet, bypassing the FCC, bypassing the regulators, and so they can put out an honest-to-goodness portrayal of, I think, what politics looks like. You compare this to something like The West Wing, which was Aaron Sorkin's drama about Democrats in the White House, which was state-humping demo porn from, a couple of decades ago. This is the true face of politics. This is the backstabbing, the evil, the monstrosity, the hypocrisy. I mean, it's like Othello, where you had Iago as the bad guy making Othello into a bad guy, but there's no good guy in this whole thing. And it's the Democrats. Because normally you get left-wing writers, if they have to portray bad people in politics, they make them Republicans. But these are Democrats, and it is showing just how corrupt the system is, how unsustainable the system is. And it's not even backroom deals for the sake of any advancing agenda. Like, it's not like they want to do good things and they have to regretfully do bad things to get those good things going. They only pretend they want to do good things in order to advance their own personal power and agenda. And I think that is an accurate view, and I think it's going to really color and condition particularly young people's view of what it is to be in politics and what the government really looks like from the inside. I think it's very powerful.
But you said it yourself, because I talked to a lot of people that say, man, this is really accurate. And by the way, this is what you're saying about the government, Alex. It's a sign that the whole wall of Hollywood control is imploding. I was talking about this the last few months, and I've had a lot of big Hollywood people and rock stars contact me and say, man, you don't know how true what you're saying is. When I'm out in Hollywood, and I've been to a lot of big A-list parties and stuff back when I would even go do that, because now I realize nothing ever really comes of it, so why go out there? Because I used to go out there to be on big national TV shows, and that doesn't really do anything, so what's the point? But I would go out there, and people weren't liberal. They weren't conservative. They were libertarian. They know the system's a fraud. They want freedom for their kids. They know GMO's bad. They're liberal on some issues, conservative on others, those traditional issues. They've all got guns. Even if they claim they're anti-gun, because the studio won't put you on if you don't toe the line. And the few people that would come on my show literally would get called in and told you're never going to work again if you don't stop that.
Yep.
If you want to be part of a libertarian group, you've got to be literally in a secret society in Hollywood. But the truth is, because they haven't let them be libertarian, or what they call conspiracy theorists, people that question known liars, the hottest thing for, I don't know, 8 years. It was about 8 years ago. I know that I started getting invited out there a lot by a lot of people. It was just a few folks that were willing to go on the show. And I'm telling you, across the board, but some of them, like Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie, that I know woke up and saw my films, and Aaron Russo's, I'll leave it at that, and were awake. They got freaked out and went and joined the UN. See, some of them go, okay, it is all rigged. I will literally go sell out to it.
Sure.
Or they argue, well, I'll do more better, you know, inside the system. But what I'm saying is the whole facade of Sumner Redstone and all these top lawyers and people that I've had meetings with literally is about keeping people on the plantation and mind control to keep Hollywood under the fake liberal progressive authoritarianism. The facade has already fallen.
Yeah.
And they're now figuring out they can go out and say and do what they want. And I'm telling you, House of Cards, I believe, is then going to be seen as the dam breaking. So I want to declare they're dead. Hollywood, as the L.A. mayor said a few months ago, is, quote, in an emergency and is bankrupt and is in a crisis. You bet. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over for them, and mainstream media is over. The dinosaur media is over. But the next thing to fully implode, I'm saying, is Hollywood. And now they're finally desperate, where Man of Steel is decentralized anti-eugenics. And movies like Nut Job or Anti-Agenda 21. Now suddenly, or the Lego movie is libertarian.
Yep.
Suddenly, though, in their death throes, they're allowing the directors, because I've talked to some of them, to actually go be pro-liberty, and those are the only films that are making it now. So instead of Hollywood just collapsing, they can either collapse, or Hollywood can make the decision to survive and join with liberty. But they've now reached that tipping point. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, they'll follow the dollar. This is what you were saying when talking about the products that you sell. You know, everything you subsidize grows, and everything you don't subsidize shrinks. So, I mean, in terms of giving money to people, right? So whatever you subsidize is going to grow. So, yeah, if people want libertarian messages, then the people in Hollywood will change to reflect that. Don't go and spend your money on stuff that promotes an immoral agenda. It's very fundamental. You know,
they've been wagging the dog here. Yeah, it's time for us to wag them.
You vote with the dollar. I mean, in House of Cards, I'm not going to give any spoilers, so don't panic about that. The rich guy says to the vice president, you are about to make an enemy of a man with $40 billion. And he says, what do I care about your money? I have the guys with all the guns. That is a very powerful statement to come out of mainstream media, or at least as mainstream as it's going to get. That is an incredibly powerful statement to come out. He's saying, I have all the guns. That's what government is. It's not your protector. It's not your savior. It's not the salvation of the poor. It's not the healer of the sick. It's not Jesus walking on water to bring you a donut. It is the guys with all the guns. And that's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And the fact that it actually has been said to the general public in one of the most popular shows to come out in the last year, I have all the guys with the guns. Shocking. I mean, it's something I've been saying for like 30 years, and now I can see it actually coming out of
government's a gang with a flag.
They are they're the disorganized crime. Yeah, organized crime is the mafia. Government is they're just the better criminals, right? Like the guys who own the banks are the better bank robbers. The guys who run the government are the better organized criminals. They won and they get to run the show. And the fact that it's actually being talked about and there is this it might as well be a mob movie.
And it's incredibly popular.
Yes, it is incredibly popular. And even the name of it, House of Cards, it's all about to come down. And what a wonderful thing it has been to be right for 30 years and have the credibility of accurately predicting catastrophe, because it's really hard to argue with people who've been saying the non-obvious for 30 years who turn out to be completely right. And I think that there's no future in the universe of House of Cards. It is all just circling the drain, grab as much as you can. It's like Indiana Jones, like when the door is coming down, you just grab whatever gold you can stuff in your pockets and try and get out. The days are numbered, and this is why the anti-gun stuff is so strong.
Oh, the elites are all running to armored redoubts in the middle of nowhere. They're already running down the temple hallway with the big rock rolling towards them.
Right.
And they're telling us be calm, though.
Yeah.
Because they don't want us to run for the exits and block their exit.
Buy some government bonds. It's a really great investment. They have bonds in Canada, the 75-year bonds. I mean, does anyone seriously think that this system is going to be around in 75 years to pay off that principle? It's mad.
But what does it say that I could produce something like Loose Change, seen over 150 million times downloaded? I mean, I helped produce those. Was the producer. That I can make films, I'm not bragging, but literally, I mean, I've made films that have been seen 50, 60 million times myself a piece, just on YouTube and Google. And I'm nobody. Imagine when that paradigm finally shifts and people realize they don't have to run to L.A. to try to go make their movies. When everyone starts making them themselves and all that new talent gets turned loose, it's a new renaissance on every front. I don't think the globalists can stop human progress unless one of their little experiments or a war they start ends up, killing everybody. I just hope that collectively, through individual action, we can block them from blowing the planet up.
Well, that's what we have to do. I mean, people ask me, where does the future go? The future goes where the most passionate and virtuous people tell it to go. It's up to us. It's up to the people. I mean, where does the future go? It's where I want it to go. It's where you want it to go. It's where these listeners want it to go. That's where the future goes. And my experience was, I struggled through graduate school in Canada, heavily socialist country. It's not like I couldn't master the material. It was just really hard work trying to get free market voluntary principles to be accepted by academics up in Canada. And I tried to publish books. I wrote books. I got great reviews on the books. Nobody would publish them. Now I don't have your reach. I got 3 to 4 million downloads a month of a philosophy show. I mean, this is unprecedented. The fact that I can actually talk to people now.
Yeah, top philosophers in the world can't get that. But you go out in the free market, boom, you win. It shows they can't pick the winners. Look, more and more they can't. They're out of bullets. Look at how they try to make Hillary like a movie star. CNN, MSNBC, she's so beautiful, she's so glamorous. No wonder you're tanking like a lead balloon in the ratings. Trying to make Michelle Obama looks like a reanimated snapping turtle, how beautiful she is. I mean, it's literally a bunch of narcissistic criminals. At least the old-fashioned kleptocrats knew to stay quiet and shut up and just look stately. They actually want to be on red carpets and parade around in front of us in some Edward Bernays type deal. It's not working.
No, I think it's better if they don't talk so much. It's like that really pretty but dumb girlfriend everyone has at one time in their life or another. It's like, I'll introduce you to my friends. If you could just smile and not talk too much, that would be excellent.
Well, I mean, look, it's one thing if scumbag, rock and roll people or whatever want to show off with a bunch of women in a jet and bling. People kind of go, oh, that's rock stars.
Yeah.
Or that's hip-hop people. It's still cheesy. But when the president and his whole camp followers are strutting around in red carpets and I'm good at killing people and look how sexy my wife is, I mean, it's delusion.
Yeah.
I mean, don't they know people don't want to look at you in a taxpayer-paid red carpet? We're sick of you.
Well, but they live in the bubble of privilege, right? They live in the bubble. I can't picture what it's like to be on the other side of the gun. Because, my whole life, when I was a kid, go to school, or you pay your taxes, obey the law, you sit this side of the gun pointing straight at you, right? Barrel straight at you. I can't even imagine what it must be like, Alex, to be on the other side of that gun. In other words, people have to watch your show. People have to give you money. People have to do what you say. Like, I can't imagine, but it must be.
That would be like a woman having sex with me who didn't want to.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean,
yeah, we have some compassion, some empathy, and all.
Well,
that.
no, I mean, the point is, I want her to be passionate and like me.
Like,
I want them out of free association. The government is raping us.
They want to go.
They want to rape us.
But they want to go back into power. This is what, like, for me.
No, I know, but I'm saying they want to make us.
Oh, I know.
It's rape. It's rape.
But that's because they know they have nothing of value to add, but their vanity can't accept that, so they have to force it on us. For me, being in power, be like, take a wild ferret and upend an aquarium and put it in that wild ferret. That ferret's going to be like, gotta get out. I mean, you put me in power for a day, I'm clawing to get out. These people work night and day for years to get back into power. I mean, it's like they're a completely different species.
Canadian Mounties override civilian rule to arbitrarily ban and confiscate firearms. That just broke minutes ago at Infowars.com. Showdown, Maryland to target and confiscate 110,000 citizens' firearms. Video, Bloomberg wants to ban free speech on Facebook. Unbelievable. That is just some of the news up on Infowars.com. Government, police fund radar crowd scanner to detect 3D printed weapons. And we have like a gun theme today that just, without me even telling my writers, just a theme appears of what's happening sometimes. Very serious. Let's jam in some calls for Stefan Molyneux. Todd in Texas, then Todd in Canada. You're on the air, Todd.
Yeah. Hey, Alex. I'll talk a little bit about the IRS and the veil coming off. I think it came off with a loud thud on the floor, and I don't think anybody even looked to see what it was.
No, I hear you. They declare the 5th when they're committing crimes, but then they don't let us declare the 5th in IRS forms. I mean, that's all I could say.
And the next thing, everyone's saying they want to take your guns. I don't believe they want to take your guns at all. Not for 1 minute.
Well, they're trying to confiscate them everywhere they get control, they do.
No, I believe that's a ruse. I believe they don't want to take your guns. They want you to use your guns. And then they can blame the economic collapse on you.
Well, when there is a large economic collapse, it'll be guns that maintain order, like in the L.A. riots when the cops left. So I hear you, and I appreciate your call. Before we go to the other Todd, let's talk to Raymond, listening on 1530 AM in Chicago. Raymond, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was calling in regards to the gun confiscation and them talking about, even using the word gun for the younger people.
Yeah, that's now a thought crime, according to our dictator, Bloomberg. Yes.
So what are they going to, then they should outlaw all these shoot-'em-up games then.
Oh, no. They're allowed to have shoot-'em-up games violently on the Super Bowl, but a pro-gun thing about men protecting their household that doesn't even show a gun, that's banned on the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't get their thinking. I really don't get their thinking.
I hear you, brother.
Talking about that young man that, shoot his Pop-Tart in the shape of a gun.
Well, that's in 1984. You can be disappeared for even less. I mean, so let him get suspended. The Pop-Tart look like a gun to somebody else. If you see a cloud looks like a gun, it's over your neighbor's house, arrest them. I think that's reasonable.
If you are born with a mole in the shape of a submachine gun, you will never see the light of day.
Yeah, they just take a meat cleaver out, chop the baby up.
Absolutely.
All right. Appreciate your call, brother. Good to hear from you. Todd in Canada, you're on the air with Stefan Molyneux, our guest.
Gentlemen, how are you doing today? I just wanted to touch base. You started off this segment about the gun ban in Canada. It's the Swiss-style classic green. And what it is the RCMP have just banned it without going through the proper channels and whatnot. Now, what I've done is I've started a YouTube channel, and I've started speaking out against it. This morning, I called the head office for the firearms registry here in Canada, and I videotaped the encounter, and I put it on YouTube. And I told them I was very nice to her, asked my questions, which she couldn't answer any of them. And I was just basically said, okay, thanks very much. Just so you know, I'm going to put this on YouTube and have a nice day. My phone rang 20 minutes later. She called and she said, have you put that on YouTube yet? And it was slow to load and it was in the process. And I just said, yeah, I put it on YouTube. And she said, well, you're going to have to take that down because you didn't have my permission. At that point, I informed her that she is a public servant and that I do not need her permission. So I encourage all Canadians to call the registry office and voice their concerns.
Absolutely.
Right now.
No, I've been following this in Canada where they're lawlessly just reclassifying guns and that they've registered and then confiscating them. And this is happening everywhere, Stefan. This is really getting serious.
Well, and this is the example of what we were talking about, different rules for them than for you. You see, they can bypass legal procedures to take your guns, but if you tape a call without their permission, that's wrong. because you don't have their...
Even though if you announce it and they're a public servant, I know about Canadian law, same as ours, you can do it. Hey, I tell you what, caller, plug your YouTube channel. I want to look at that and add it to our article if it's good.
Yeah, definitely. It's Awaken Canada. It's a new channel. It's not pretty. I've just started.
It's okay. Awaken Canada on YouTube. Final segment with Stefan Molyneux, our guest here, talking about the future of the world, our current state. We're done with calls now in the 5 minutes we've got here. I want to thank you for coming in, spending time with us. Stefan, getting into the war on males briefly, but first you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I just really wanted to tell people that the government's escalation of its power is absolutely not going to stop until we stop it, right? It is going to continue to grow. It is like somebody wildly addicted to some substance. They need an intervention. In a weird kind of way, you can do it out of love for the people on the other side of the gun. You know, take the gun away from them gently because it's not good for them. Like that great scene in the Brando movie On the Waterfront where he takes that gun away from his brother gently and tenderly who's there to kill him and all. And we just have to take this power away from people. It's bad for them. It's toxic for society as a whole. They're addicts. You know, what do you do with somebody who's addicted? You try and take that substance away from them so that they can get their heads clear. It's not going to stop. There's nothing.
And I've noticed with narcissism, power addiction isn't just in government. Either people are getting more enlightened or they're going on weird power trips.
Yeah.
And like saying, I'm invincible. You're going to do what I say.
Yeah, I'm right because I'm me. And you know, we have to, you know, whether it's lovingly or assertively or even aggressively, we have to just take away this power from these people. It is so destructive to humanity as a whole, and they can't do it themselves. The only people who get that kind of power are people who are addicted and want more of it no matter what.
I know some of your views on this, but our current issue of the magazine is all about the chemicals, the food, the water, the culture, every TV show, bad-mouthing fathers, men.
Yeah.
What is the war on men about? I guess the state wants to be the daddy now?
Yeah, I mean, the more that the government can break the bonds between men and women, the more that they can make women dependent on the state and guarantee future votes from them and their children.
And Bernays wrote books on that, and it's public policy.
And this has been a Marxist, leftist, progressive policy for hundreds of years.
They've done a great job with the family courts and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, more money flows through the family courts and all the other courts put together. The average divorce costs $50,000. And in other areas of the world, like in some of the Scandinavian countries, you just write something in and send it off and you're divorced in 6 months. And the no-fault divorce used to be a contract, the most serious contract in the world, much more important than your cell phone contract, which you can't break. It was Reagan in the 60s in California brought in the no-fault divorce. You used to actually prove, you had to prove abuse or infidelity to get divorced before. And now you can just get divorced because you want to. The majority of divorces, 60-70%, initiated by women for dissatisfaction, for reasons of dissatisfaction.
And it's advertised as the really cool thing to do. The truth is, statistically, it's literally turning us into animals. Oh, it's destroying the human unit, and the children are now the wards of the state, and the women are the tarts of the state.
Yeah, and so basically the government is now stepped into the provider role that used to be inhabited by the male, and therefore the women have now changed their allegiance towards statism, which is why more women vote Democrat and why there's good statistical studies that show that the increase in state power accelerated significantly after giving women the vote. Again, not that giving the women the vote is bad or anything, but the inevitable result.
It was Eva Bernays. They said, have our feminists smoke cigarettes, the women will smoke them.
Yeah.
I mean, they just have been preying on women.
Yeah.
And statistically, women on every metric are going to hell in a handbasket. And so are their sons and daughters, and so are the men.
Well, it's so
devastating victory for the New World Order.
And incredibly destructive. You know, there's no single worse predictor of a negative outcome for a child than becoming from a single mother household or a single parent household. It's worse than race. It's worse than gender. It's worse than demography. It's worse than socioeconomic status.
But they advertise it in all the women's magazines and shows as like a new set of clothes. It is the sexy, cool thing to do.
Yeah, and it is incredibly destructive for children. It's one thing to get divorced.
And it is liberating to sit out and go and do whatever you want.
Yeah,
but you had kids, and now statistically it's going to wreck their life.
And now we have to pay.
But you don't care because you're a state-run Jezebel.
Yeah, and we have to pay the price for them becoming criminals. It's everyone else who suffers when these kids get out into society.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.